Four people were gunned down in an apartment complex after a young man with a promising future throws it all away. Then, a father is gunned down in front of his family when they dropped on a family. For homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they do not get a lead within the first 48 hours. Some of the participants in this documentary are actors, and some scenes have been altered for dramatic effect. A caller called 911 around 1:20 p.m. in the city of Tulsa. 911 operator asks if she needs police, fire, or medical. The caller says she needs medical. 911 operator asks her what's going on. The caller said she doesn't know. She said she just woke up and she started hearing some noises. Then she went over to her balcony and she saw that two people that have been shot. 911 operator told her officers are on their way. When the first respondents arrived, they found four people that had been shot. Two men and a woman were rushed to the hospital. The remaining person was already dead before officers arrived at the scene of the incident. 23-year-old veteran detective Reggie Warren would lead the case. "What's going on?" an officer asked. Sergeant Brandon Watkins told him they have one person that is deceased on the side of the walk-in between the apartments. His name is Joshua Smith. 26-year-old Joshua Smith was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and moved to Tulsa in 2013. After graduating from Atlanta High, he enrolled in culinary school and planned to open a restaurant. Joshua was survived by his mother, two brothers, two sisters, and a 1-year-old daughter. Joshua was shot 8 times. Sergeant Brandon Williams said they have 3 people that have been transported to the hospital for gunshot wounds. The man that was shot in the head is 23-year-old Marco Celestine Jr. Marco and his girlfriend Raven had a child and another baby on the way. The detectives discovered several casings in the parking lot and on the sidewalks. The team also recovers 11 .40 caliber shell casings. A detective said it seems the shooting started initially in the parking lot and shot were fired and continued down to the east. While detectives Ronnie Leatherman and John Brown went out to talk to people downtown, the team canvassed the apartment complex. They got a witness to speak with them. She narrated what she knew. Detective Reggie and other detectives were not too satisfied with what they heard from her. They wanted to hear more from her, so they told her she will be more appreciated if she could come to homicide. She obliged and followed the detectives. As soon as they got to homicide, she was taken into an investigation room. Detective Ronnie was the detective that entered the interrogation room where she was being held to ask her some questions. Detective Ronnie told her to tell him everything she knows. She said she was sitting in her car watching TV, and then she heard gunshots out of nowhere. She said the gunshots were consecutive and just kept going off. She said she hit the ground. She said when the gunshot stopped, she kept on hearing the voice of a woman yelling for help. In Mobile, Alabama, a call came through to 911. 911 operators picked the call and asked the caller what her emergency was. The caller told them someone has just been shot. 911 operators asked her the location of the shooting. She kept on saying, "Stephen, baby, stay with me." The caller finally gave 911 operators her location. She said she was at Azalea and Seabreeze. 911 operators immediately transferred her over to medical. She kept saying, "I love you, Stephen, baby," while her call was transferred to the medical. A few minutes later, police and DMs responded and found a man lying on the street dead. Detective Glenn Barton asked officers if they already have the name of the victim. An officer told him that they have the victim's name and he is Stephen Fields Jr. 39-year-old Stephen Fields Jr. worked in a construction company to support his 5 children. Stephen was recently engaged and moved in with his fiancée. Stephen was shot once in the head. A single shell casing of a 9mm Luger was found next to Stephen's foot. A witness came forward to speak with detectives. The witness said showed them Stephen's fiancée. He assured detectives that the female holding a baby over there is Stephen's fiancée. The detectives approached her and she agreed to talk when she gets to homicide. Immediately they arrived at homicide. She was taken into an interrogation room for questioning. Detective Ronnie and another detective entered the interrogation room where she was been held to ask her some questions. Detective Ronnie told her he wants to know what happened. He urged her to tell him everything she knew. She said Donna called her in the morning because Donna wanted her to come to her house. She waited on Stephen to get off work because the next day was his birthday. She said she took Stephen out for dinner to celebrate his birthday. Detective Ronnie asked her if Stephen knew Donna. She said Stephen and Donna were neighbors. She said Donna moved into the house where Stephen was living with her son and his girlfriend about a month ago. She said Donna told her she just needed to talk to her for a second. She said Stephen and his son waited in the car while she went inside. When she entered, Donna told her to sit and talk to her for a second. The next thing she saw was a black guy running in the door. The black guy went to the safe that was in Donna's room. She said he told Donna he needed his gun. He said he needed to go outside. She said the black man grabbed a gun and ran out of the room. She said as he was going down the steps, she was trying to figure out what was going on. Donna ran out behind him. Detective Ronnie asked if he saw the victim get shot. She said the black guy just shot the victim in the head and the victim fell. He asked her again if she remembers what he was wearing. She said she can't tell him even one thing about him. She said she doesn't know who he was, but it sounded like he was called Smoke. Detective Ronnie asked her if she knew who called him Smoke. She said it was Donna that called him Smoke and she drove away with her son. Detective Ronnie asked her if she has any idea why anybody would shoot Stephen. She said she thinks everything that happened was a setup. She said Donna told her son in the past that Stephen owed her money. She said she was outside when she got outside. She said after she followed the gunman out of the house, she saw Donna's son lying on the street. She thinks her son and Stephen might have gotten into it and the guy got a gun and shot Stephen. At this point, Donna threatened to kill Stephen, Detective Ronnie asked. She said Donna usually threatens to kill people all the time. Just hold tight. I will be right back, Detective Ronnie said while he left the interrogation room. The detective turned to the woman who rents the apartment and who was dating Donna's son. So who stays in that apartment with you? The detective asked. She said she and her kids. Who else stays at the house? The detective asked again. Mama, she replied. What exactly do you remember about when everything went down? The detective continued with his investigation. She said when the girl knocked at the door, she asked her what she wanted. She said she opened the door. She said her old man and little skinny dude were getting into it. She said while she was at the door, she saw Stephen and a black male fighting in the street. She said Mama ran out of the house. She ran past her. She saw Stephen and the skinny dude tussling. After that, she heard a firecracker. She said the skinny black dude ran behind the back of her apartment. Back to the other murder case, detectives just learned that a witness responded to the female victim. The witness was brought to homicide for questioning. As soon as she arrived at homicide, she was taken into an interrogation room for questioning. After a series of questions and answers with Detective Ronnie, the witness was given a card that had Detective Ronnie's name and phone number on it. He told her to call him as soon as he has any information concerning the murder. Detective Leatherman visited the hospital where the surviving female victim was taken to. He requested to have chat with her before he is prepared for surgery. Detective Ronnie asked her who shot her and she said it was Caleb Young. He asked her what happened. She said she was there to visit her friend called Josh and one of Caleb's friends was there. She said she saw him on the phone and he was looking at her. She has a feeling that he was on the phone with Caleb. About 30 minutes later, Caleb popped up. Detective Ronnie asked her why he did that. She said he did that because they broke up. Detective Ronnie left the hospital room while he left the medical personnel to attend to her. Detective Ronnie called Detective Reggie immediately he left the possible. He told about Caleb Young. He wants him to look for Caleb in the database if he can get any information on him. A few minutes later, Detective Reggie found Caleb in the database. Information from the database showed that 20 years old Caleb Young has no prior convictions. The next task for the detectives is to locate Caleb and bring him for questioning. They headed out to the location they found. While driving close to the location, they spotted Caleb leaving in a car. The detectives tracked and stopped the car and transported Caleb to homicide. With a search warrant in hand, the team searches the house but they did not find any gun. While the team was carrying out an on-site investigation, the victim's dad showed up. Did your son have a girlfriend or baby ma'am out east? A detective asked him. He claims Caleb's ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend shot up his family's house and car. Detective Ronnie said what she told them might help her son out. He asked if she will be willing to follow them. Definitely, yeah, he replied. The detectives and left with him to homicide for questioning. Detective Reggie enters the room where Caleb was been held. "How are you, brother?" he asked. "Fine," Caleb replied. Detective Reggie introduced his partner called Detective Ryden to Caleb. Detective Reggie asked him if he needed anything like water or food. He said he is good. Detective Ryden said he has 4 people shot at the moment and he doesn't know why. Back to the mobile investigation of Stephen Fields Jr., a witness has just revealed to detectives that she knows the shooter. A detective asked the witness if he can describe him. She said the suspect is 5'11", a black guy, and skinny. Smoke's wife, a detective asked. The witness said she is a white girl. He asked her how old she was. She said the information is on Facebook. The detective asked her if she can pull up her information on Facebook real quick. She said she can do it real quick. Barton finds Jamal's last known address. The detective headed to a location they know Jamal stay at. A few minutes later, they arrived at the address. When they arrived at the address, they knocked on the door. A woman showed up at the door. He told her his name is Detective Barton and he wants to know if Jamal was there. She said Jamal was not there. She said she has been trying to get in touch with him. She said she has been calling him. "Well, this is my phone number," Detective Barton said. He gave her his phone number and urged her to call him if Jamal shows up. The next day, the teen picks up Donna at her apartment complex. Detective Glenn told Donna that he just wanted to speak with her. Donna said that's fine. Detective Barton told Donna to explain what happened to them. She said someone knocked on her door. She said the people used to live down the road. She said he always come hounding. She said she asked him if he has $5 she can use for gas or she can help her buy her baby diapers. Detective Barton asked her if she told her to come over to her apartment. She said she didn't tell her. Detective Barton said he didn't buy the idea that she just showed up randomly. She said she told her she was bringing money. Donna admits Stephen owed her money. Detective Barton asked her what happened when she was talking in her room. She said somebody runs in and that was when she walked outside. She said her son was in the middle of the road. She said she thought her son was dead. Detective Barton asked her if she had talked to Stephen. She said she hollered at Stephen. I asked him what he did to her son. He said Stephen came over to her son and pushed her down. She said he was irate. He was always screaming and cussing me. She said it was in the processing of getting up after he pushed her that she heard a gunshot. Then Stephen fell. Detective Barton asked who was with him when it happened. She said it was Jamal. He asked her where the person went from there. She said she doesn't know where the boy would have gone to. Detective Barton asked her if she has ever threatened Stephen in any way. She said no. Detective Barton asked her if she does not feel somehow that Stephen dies the day he showed up at her place. In the quadruple shooting in Tulsa, detectives have just identified a suspect. The fugitive warrant squad has just brought in the suspected shooter Caleb Young. Caleb was taken to an interrogation room and prepared for questioning. Detective Reggie and Detective Ronnie entered the interrogation room to question Caleb. Detective Reggie told Caleb that he has been talking to his dad and his dad told him that he had a plan of joining the military. Caleb said he went to take his drug test today until all this happened. Detective Reggie told Caleb that he got information that somebody shoot his dad's house up. He asked him if that was correct and he said yes. Detective Reggie asked Caleb if he was around when the house got shot. Caleb said everybody was around. He said his sisters, his mom, his stepmom, and his father were all around. Detective Reggie asked him if he knows why anybody would have shot up that house. He said it was because he broke up with his girlfriend. Detective Ronnie said he guessed she has a new boyfriend. Caleb said yes. He said her new boyfriend shot up his house. Detective Ronnie asked him if he has ever met her new boyfriend before. He said he hasn't met him. He said about a month and a half ago, they called his phone talking about how they pulled up to his house. He said his ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend threatened him just a day before his house was shot up. Detective Ronnie said something triggered him today. He said his friend called him and told him she was at the apartment complex. He asked Caleb where he was at that time. He said he was up north. Detective Ronnie asked Caleb if he drives to the apartment complex. He said when he arrived at the complex, what was in his mind. Caleb remained hesitant and didn't want to talk for a few minutes. But after the detectives mounted much pressure on him, he finally agreed that he shot him. Detective Ronnie asked Caleb where everybody was standing then. He said they were all standing by the stairs. Caleb said he spotted his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend and he started shooting. Detective Ronnie asked him how far away he was when the shooting started. He said he was close. Detective Ronnie asked him if he had already determined that he was going to shoot anyone he sees with his ex-girlfriend. He replied in the affirmative. Detective Ronnie told him that he said he has never seen him before. Caleb said it didn't matter to him at that time. Detective Ronnie asked Caleb if he ever thought it was a good idea that if people shot at his house, he should call the police. Caleb said he already called the police and made a complaint. He said there was nothing the police were going to do if they came back and shoot up his house. Detective Ronnie asked him if he realized that some of the people he shot are those leaving in the complex who had no idea about whatever happened between him and his ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend. Caleb said he understood that completely. Caleb said people that know him know that he gets mad if someone messes with him. He said he just got to a point where he was never going to stop. Back to the mobile murder of Stephen Fields Jr., detectives need to know if a woman named Donna ever threatened him. Donna said there was no way she could take someone's life. The detective said he was not saying she took someone's life. She quickly interjected and kept saying no, no, no. The detective told Donna to stay put and he left the interrogation room. 4 hours later, detectives got a call from a tipster who gave them the location of Jamal. They tracked him down and brought him back to homicide. As soon as they arrived at homicide, Jamal was taken into an interrogation room for questioning. Detective Ronnie and Detective Jeremy were the detectives that will interrogate Jamal. Detective Ronnie asked Jamal if he needed anything before the interrogation will commence. He said he is okay and doesn't need anything. Detective Ronnie said he doesn't want to waste Jamal's time. He said he wants Jamal to tell him about what happened yesterday. He urged Jamal to tell him everything that he knows without concealing any information. Jamal said he was fixing his radiator in front of his apartment when Donna's son returned home. He said Donna's son went in and came back outside. He said Donna's son noticed an unfamiliar car that was parked in a parking spot that was reserved only for residents. He said when Donna's son asks the guy who he was, the guy asked Donna's son if he was the dude that his mother owed money. He kept repeating to Donna's son how his mother owed him money. He said after some minutes, the guy came out of his car and he said he was going to beat Donna's son's ass. Jamal said Stephen became estranged when he was confronted about his debt to Donna and hit her son. He said the next thing he heard was a bomb sound. He said when he looked back, he saw how Stephen's head hit the ground. It bounced back and hit the ground again. Detective Ronnie followed that question with another question. He told Jamal that he wants to know what else he did. Jamal said, like what in amazement. He asked Jamal where he got the gun that he used to shoot the deceased. Jamal said he got it at the safe. Detective Ronnie asked him if Mama had already left the room. He said they were already downstairs. He said he was the last person in the house. Detective Ronnie asked him what he saw when he got out of the house. He said he walked down the steps. He saw how he and Mama wanted to fight. He said he put Mama on the ground and he was already swinging on Mama. Detective Ronnie asked him what he did when he saw him swinging Mama. Jamal said he shot him. Detective Ronnie asked for a couple of minutes and left the interrogation room. Jamal Hamilton was charged with murder and he is awaiting trial. No one else has been charged in connection with the murder of Stephen Fields Jr. Fields Jr. 8:08 p.m. in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A caller called 911. 911 operator. Do you need police, fire, or medical? Caller. Police. The caller said he is at the corner of 54th Street and Johnstown. He said he just heard a gunshot after an argument, and the argument stopped after the argument. 911 operator. How many gunshots did you hear? Caller. Just one. The 911 operator said he will inform the police. A few minutes later, another caller called 911. 911 operator. This is EMSA. What is your emergency? Caller. I was just walking up the street and I look up in the driveway and I saw a guy sitting in a chair with a gunshot wound to his head. 911 operator. Is there more than one wound? The caller said he just saw one that is coming out of the man's head. 911 operator. Okay. Caller. God. 911 operator. Is he still breathing? Caller. Yes. He is still breathing. 911 operator. Just keep talking to him. Tell him you've got help on the way. Detectives made their way to the crime scene. They found a man lying wounded with gunshot wounds. Is he bleeding via a gunshot wound? A detective asked. Yes, another detective answered. Detectives said the victim is in grave condition. He should be taken to St. John's Hospital. For homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they do not get a lead within the first 48 hours. Detectives are heading to North Tulsa. There was a black male that was shot at the front of his residence. Health officials have been working on him, and detectives just got a word that unfortunately, he died at the hospital. Victim seated in his chair, a detective asked. Yeah, someone replied. He said apparently when they were out there, he had a hospital bracelet worn with the name Sidney on it. The victim did, a detective asked again. The victim did. He replied. 55 years old Sidney Ray was born and raised in Tulsa. After earning a bachelor's in communications, he served in the Army for a year and a half before being honorably discharged. When he returned home, he attended truck driving school and worked as a landscaper. He was survived by his mother and 3 children. A detective said he believed that Sidney was shot. He said he was shot once. He said the bullet didn't pass all the way through but stayed in his head. Sidney was shot once on the right side of his head. A detective at the crime scene said he is not seeing any blood spatter on the wall or anything. He said what this tells him is that Sidney was probably leaning forward when he was shot. In the course of searching the crime scene, a detective saw a 9mm casing and 2 different types of cigarettes. So, who else lives in this house? A detective asked. No one answered the door. Another detective replied. A female detective at the crime scene said she has talked to the person that owns the house. She said the owner of the house told her that Sidney and 2 other people lived in the house. She said she gave her the name of the 2 other people. Perfect, a detective answered. Patrol learned that Sidney's housemates have been out of town for 4 days. What this shows is that Sidney was at home alone when he was shot. Only the neighbor who called 911 would be able to provide some information that can give detectives a lead. Detectives have a witness. She said she hears Sidney arguing with someone moments before the shooting, but she didn't hear what they were saying. She said she heard the suspect talking to someone. Like shoot him, a detective asked. Yeah, just like that. She said after that, she heard a gunshot and everything just went quiet. She said she looks out her window and she saw 2 black males. She said one black male and the other she can tell who he is. She said the suspects fled to an open garage next door. She said they were only there for a couple of seconds. After that, they came out down the driveway and entered a white car. She said the suspect car did not start. She said she saw him grabbing a tool to start the vehicle, and they took off and go through the west. How did the garage door get closed? A detective asked. That's $1 million question. We do not know how it got closed, another detective replied. Detectives knocked on the door of one of Sidney's neighbors. What do you know about this house next door? A detective asked. I do not know anything about it. I just know the neighbor. He is always outside fixing on his car, he replied. What does he normally drive? The detective asked again. He drives a blue Mustang, he replied. Have you seen any white cars there before? The detective asked again. No, he replied. Do you know the name of the guy that lives next to you? The detective asked again. No, I don't, he replied. He said it's a young couple that lives there. The detective asked him if he knows the victim's name. He said he doesn't know him either. The detective asked if he has seen a neighbor associate with the victim before. He replied in the affirmative. The detective said he was going to leave his number with the neighbor. He told him to call him if he happens to hear something. The detectives think they might have to search the garage. They cannot search it immediately, though, because they need a warrant from a court of competent jurisdiction. 2 hours in, Sergeant Brandon Watkins speaks to Sidney's brother and sister-in-law who are away on vacation. They said they heard from a neighbor that Sidney was shot. Sergeant Brandon told them that Sidney was taken to St. John's Hospital after he was shot. But unfortunately, Sidney died. Sergeant Brandon asked them if they knew anybody that Sidney was having any kind of trouble with recently. They said they do not know anyone Sidney was having any kind of trouble with. Sergeant Brandon ended the call after thanking them for speaking to him. Sergeant Brandon told other officers that Sidney's brother and sister-in-law told him that Sidney was shot in his chair at that residence on the 15th of May last year. He said they made him know that it was two young guys that shot him then. They said he was shot in the back and stomach then. Another detective said their story has explained why Sidney had bracelets on his wrist. He said Sidney's brother said he couldn't let him stay in his house because he was throwing trash in the neighbors' yards, and he was aggressive with everybody. He said there was a lady who said yesterday, or the day before yesterday, the guy that was sitting in the chair out there started screaming at her. The guy told her to get out of his sight. While the team waited for a search warrant to search the victim's house and garage, a detective said someone just showed up at the house. He said they might be able to get a waiver. "Do you live here?" a detective asked him. "Yes, sir, I do," he replied. "Do you mind signing a waiver for us to search your garage?" a detective asked. "Yeah," he replied. As officers searched the garage, they began to see different ammunitions. They found 5 guns including a 9mm Luger and a cock gun. The detectives believe they may have found the weapon used for the murder. The owner of the house swore that he does not know these ammunitions exist in his garage. A detective said he will send the ammunitions to ballistic for investigation. The detective asked him if his garage door was up. He said no. He said his garage door was not open. The detective asked again if there is any way they can get into his garage door. He said the back door doesn't lock. The detective told him that he has talked to a couple of his neighbors, and they said he has associated with the people next door. He said he is a mechanic, so he always works on their cars. The detective asked him about the guy that drives a white car and sits at the front that needed to jumpstart before he left there tonight. He said he doesn't know what white car the detective is talking about. "Listen, these cats were in your garage. They probably dumped the murder weapon off in your garage. I want you to think about this. Who have you seen over there? And what kind of activity have you seen over there?" the detective asked him. He said honestly, he did not see any activity over there. He said he doesn't associate with anybody. He asked for the detective's number so that he can call him when he sees any activity going on over there. Another detective suggested that Dylan be taken downtown. He said the detective should apply some type of pressure on him and see if he will stick with the story he told them initially. The detective said what the guy said made no sense to him because if it was one gun they found stashed in his yard or under a trash can, it would have been understandable. But the numerous guns found in his yard suggest he still has a lot to say. The detective who had a chat with Dylan said his interaction with him suggests to him that he was believable. He said he has been wrong before. So, if the other detective suggests he should be taken downtown and interrogated more, then they should go ahead and do it. A detective went to the Dylan door again and knocked. Immediately he came out. The detective told him to put on his shirt, his shoes, and bring along his phone real quick. As soon as they arrived at homicide, Dylan was taken to the interrogation room for questioning. The detective said he appreciates his coming down to homicide. He said he knows it sucks. Dylan interjected quickly and told the detective that he can have his phone if that is what he wants. The detective asked him if he doesn't have any issues with him looking at his phone. He said he doesn't. He said the detective can go through his pictures and his contacts. Another detective came into the interrogation room during the interrogation. The detective that was talking to Dylan gave the detective Dylan's phone, and he told him that Dylan has permitted them to check his phone. He said he has permitted them to do whatever they want to do with his phone. The detective continued his interrogation while he gave the phone to the detective that joined him. He asked Dylan about the guns that were found in his garage. He said, "Is there any way that Dylan's fingerprint or DNA is going to be on those guns?" He said no. How do you know that? The detective asked again. He said he hasn't touched any of those guns, so there is no way his fingerprints will be on the guns. The detective asked him again if any of his neighbors have entered his garage before. No, he replied. The detective asked Dylan if he received any phone call this evening from anybody that suggested the person was going to hide something or put something in his garage. He said no. The detective asked again if he hung out with any black guy at his house. He said not really. The detective said the reason he is asking is because of a picture he saw on his phone. The guy stood up to show him the picture. The picture showed he was with a guy in his garage. The detective asked if he knows the guy. He said yes. He said the guy in the picture is his buddy. He said his name is Skyler. The detective asked him when the picture was taken. Dylan said the picture was taken a couple of weeks ago. He helped the detective check the exact day the picture was taken. Dylan gave the detective Skyler's full name and says he helped him work on his truck. The detective asked Dylan if he was expecting anybody in his house this evening. No, sir, he replied. The other detective who was checking Dylan's phone left the interrogation room. He left Dylan and the detective that was interrogating him from the start. Immediately the detective left. Dylan said he was expecting to go home and eat his damn tacos and go to bed. The detective said he was going to take Dylan's fingerprint, and that way he can compare it to any prints that are going to be on those guns. The detective asked Dylan if he doesn't have any issue with taking a DNA swab. Dylan said he doesn't care. The detective left the room and told Dylan that he will be right back. The detective that checked Dylan's phone said he was not feeling him. He said he feels if Dylan knows anything he would have told them. Detective Reggie asked the detective that interrogated Dylan if he mentioned a black male known as Skyler. The detective said he did. Detective Rogers said he blew that up. Detective Reggie himself made his way to the interrogation room to interrogate Dylan. Detective Reggie, hey, you look tired, man. Let me ask you something. Is Skyler your friend? Dylan, yeah. Detective Reggie, you said he is a black male. Dylan, yeah. Detective Reggie, okay. Where does he live? Do you know? Dylan, out west. We go to school together. Detective Reggie, what school? Dylan, Central. Detective Reggie, how old is Skyler? Dylan, I'd say 27. Detective Reggie, okay. During the interrogation, Detective Mark Kennedy received a call from Dave. Dave went through Dylan's Facebook page and found the Skyler he was talking about. The information on Dylan's Facebook page shows that Dylan is a white male. Detective Mark shows Dylan the picture of the white male. That's Skyler, Dylan said. Detective Mark, that's not the guy in the picture that you identified as Skyler. That was an older, bald, black man. Detective Mark, so, are you ready to tell the truth now? Dylan, okay, that's the neighbor. Detective Mark, out by your garage. Dylan, yes. He helped me push my truck out. Detective Mark, who is the neighbor? Dylan, his name is Reggie. Detective Mark, do you know Reggie's last name? Dylan, no. I don't. Detective Mark, which house does he live at? Dylan, I've seen him next door, next to me to the left. Detective Mark, like the one that the murder happened. Dylan, yes. Detective Mark, does he live over there? Dylan, I don't know who lives there. Detective Mark, okay, but Reggie frequents that house next door. Dylan, yes, sir. Detective Mark, why didn't you tell us that? Dylan, because he is in the picture and I didn't want you guys to think that I was hiding anything. Detective Mark, but you are. Detective Reggie, we know you are scared to death right now. Dylan, oh, I am scared to death right now. Detective Reggie, we know. Dylan, you guys see this right now. Detective Reggie, we know that. Detective Reggie, all my partner is trying to do is to get out why they did what they did. He is trying to solve a murder, bro. Somebody lost their life today. Dylan, I know, buddy. I want somebody to find out who shot them. Detective Reggie, but if you mean that, you are going to start being truthful to us, because talking to you is like pulling teeth. Detective Mark, you are making it worse for yourself. Leave the fear out of this. Stop the fear. Dylan, okay. So, I was not at work today. I was inside for about 95% of the day. I decided to go outside and roll a blunt. I opened my garage door. I heard, boom. It was a bang. I stopped rolling the blunt. Reggie came over and threw the guns. He threw the gun underneath the toolbox. I saw Reggie and a black guy. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I want to hide them. Sidney just shot himself." I said, "Dude, I am getting out of here." He ran out. I locked the doors. I got in my car and I left. Detective Mark, what did the other guy look like? Dylan, he was a black guy. He is tall, skinny, black skin. Detective Mark, what you just said now at 1:52 in the morning is a whole lot more than what you have said at all. Hope you know what I mean. Dylan, all right. I apologize, guys. I'm just scared. Detective Mark, well, you should be scared. You made me look like a fool because I believed in you. Dylan, give me a minute. Detective Mark, sit tight. Detective Mark came out of the interrogation room after he chatted with Dylan. He narrated what happened in the interrogation room to other detectives. Dylan identified Reggie. He stated that Reggie said Sidney had shot himself. He said that is unlikely based on the fact that there was a loud argument that was going on before the incident happened. The team searches for Reggie on Dylan's Facebook page. Here it is the detective who searched said. He found a picture that looks like the guy in the photo from Dylan's phone. He found Reginald's last name. His last name is Sutton. 54 years old Reginald Sutton has multiple felony convictions including burglary, drug possession, and shooting with intent to kill. Detective Mark went back to the interrogation room, where Dylan has been held. Detective Mark, who is this? Dylan, that's Reggie. Detective Mark, you are saying that's him? That's Reggie. Dylan, yeah. Detective Mark, are you sure? Dylan, yeah. Detective Mark left the interrogation room and returned to his team members. He said Dylan identified the guy in the picture as Reggie. He said that means they have a lead. Yeah, that means we have to find him. And that car is still running around somewhere. Another detective said. Then, the team gets body cam footage from first responders to the shooting. While the team was watching the video, they saw an officer walking down from the crime scene. They also saw a white Monte Carlo that has broken down in the video. The car broke down while trying to leave the house. A detective said that car is probably the suspect's vehicle. The video showed where the officer was asking a young man if the car belongs to him. The young man said the car is his cousin's car. The young man said he was going to get gas. The officer asked how long has the car broken down. The young man said it broke down 30 minutes ago. The officer asked if he heard or seen something around where his car broke down. The young man said he did not see or hear anything. The officer told him someone has been shot around the place that his car broke down. The detectives who watched the video are convinced that the guy in the video does not look like Reginald. They said probably the young man is the second guy they are looking for. The detectives are convinced that the car in the video is the car they are looking for. Detectives said all officers should be on the lookout for the white car. 17 hours in, Detective White gets the autopsy report. White said the autopsy reveals that it was as if someone was coming from the back and putting it up against his head and pulling the trigger. He said he was going to take what he has to the district attorney's office, and he will see if they can get a warrant for the arrest of Reggie. Detective Watkins gets a call from Sidney's family. She said they are sure that Reggie has something to do with the death of the victim. They said that Reggie is part of their family. Reggie and Sidney are first cousins. He said the family is saying that Reggie is hiding somewhere in the out east. After some minutes, Detective White got a phone call from the district attorney's office. He said they have been able to secure an arrest warrant for Reggie. With an arrest warrant in hand, the team hits out the east of Tulsa searching for Reggie Sutton and the white Monte Carlo. The team hits all the streets in the east, but there was no luck. After hours of searching, Reggie turns himself in. Reggie was taken into the interrogation room for questioning. Detective White, I know you are going through a lot right now. Reggie interjected. Well, Mr. White, the first thing I had to do was to turn myself in and do the right thing. Detective White, that is a good decision. I appreciate that because that shows me a lot. Detective White, tell me about what happened last night. Reggie, okay, it was my cousin, Sidney Ray. I was over at the house. Sidney Ray does crack and he gets on it and starts fighting people, chucking bricks at people, cursing people. He's kind of crazy, you know. So, I said this is my first cousin. First of all, Mr. White, let me let you know, his mother and I are sisters. He started yelling and woofing, and that's how he does. So, I say, chill my cousin. You can be doing people like this. You yell at everybody that comes into this yard. After some few minutes, he pulled a 9mm out. I said, I'm your cousin, man. Are you going to do that to me? So he sat back down and sat in the brown chair he was in. So he started doing it again. That was when I walked up to him. So he took a knife and hit me on my belly. So he took the gun out. I said, are you going to do that to me like that, man? So we started dragging it. It went off. Detective White interjected. Reggie, it went off, sir. Detective White, you know I have interviewed a lot of people out there last night. Some of the people I interviewed lived in that area, and they said it was not only you that was up there. They said there was another male that you were with. I am interested in knowing who he is. Who were you with? Detective White asked again. Reggie, Terry Ratliff. Detective White, I need to find Terry because he could corroborate your story. Do you know his number? Reggie, I don't have a phone. I do not know it by heart. Detective White, is he the one? Did he leave in the car? I mean the white Monte Carlo. Reggie, yes. Detective White, where is the car right now? Reggie, it should be at his mother's house. Reggie gives the location of Terry's mother's house. Reggie, I'm letting them know about the car. A few minutes later, a detective said Detective Warren has found the car. He said when they went and knocked on the door to get permission to tow it off the property, a guy answered. The guy that answered was Terry. Terry agreed to talk and he was brought to homicide. When Terry got to homicide, he was taken into the interrogation room for questioning. Detective White and Detective Kansas Corps entered the interrogation room. Detective White, just tell me the truth, that's it. Terry, I'm fixing to tell you. Terry continued. He said Sidney was right there. He said when Sidney smokes some dope, he usually gets irritated and starts talking a little noise about people. He said Sidney got up in Reggie's face at one point in time, and Reggie also got up in his. He said before he knew it, Sidney was sitting down, and Reggie was all over him. He said Reggie was getting ready to whoop Sidney. He said Sidney scratched him a little bit. He said Reggie came to him and showed him a scar on his stomach. He said that was when Reggie told him to hand the gun over to him. He said he didn't want to give Reggie the gun, but Reggie intimidated him. He said he handed the gun to Reggie. The next thing he knew was Reggie shot Sidney in the head. Detective White, okay, that's it. Terry, he murdered that dude. Detective White, that's the part I need to know exactly clear about. So how did he do it? Where was he standing when he did it? Detective White asked again. Terry, right over him. He grabbed the gun, went back over to Sidney, and stood over him. He backed him back. Sidney was still talking then. Detective White, what was he saying? Terry, he was saying shoot me, shoot me. Terry said the next thing he heard was a gunshot. Detective White, Where did he shoot him? Terry, it was on the right side of the head, I guess. That's all I know. Detective, Sidney wasn't fighting him or doing anything. Terry, Sidney was a good guy. He didn't deserve to die. Terry said. After that, Reggie said he better not say anything to anyone. He says Reggie told him to hide the gun in Dylan's garage. He said he grabbed the gun. He said he took it up and pits it up under the tool chest. Detective White, when you reached under there to get rid of that gun, did you see any other guns? Terry, I didn't notice any. Detective White, where did you go from there? Terry, I tried to leave but the car didn't start. He hopped in the car with me. He said Reggie said they needed to get away before someone calls the police. He said Reggie said he should stay. Reggie shot himself if anyone asked. Terry said he told him they were going to detect that he didn't shoot himself. He said they ran back to Dylan's house and Dylan drove them to a gas station to fill up a gas can. He said when they came back, they dropped him off the car. He said he saw the police walking towards the car shining a light on it. He said the police asked if the car belongs to him. He said he told them they went out to fill the car because it ran out of gas. He said he got the car started and he immediately went to his mother's house. He said he stayed right there till morning. Detective White, I'll be right back. You can hang here real quickly. Detective White returned to the interrogation room, where Reggie was being held. Detective White, well, the version that we got from your friend over there was a little bit different from yours. Reggie, how far was I off? Detective White, quite a bit. Detective White, here is what I think happened based on the version that he told me. I do not doubt that Sidney has got some issues. I think we can agree on that. Reggie, yeah, we can. Detective White, I've heard about how he is kind of so forth, and I think he was probably running his mouth to you and being disrespectful. Reggie interjected. He showed the scar on his stomach to Detective White. He said that was when Sidney stabbed him. Detective White, that was what pissed you off. Reggie, pissed the out of me. Detective White, then, you decided to handle it, and it went too far. Reggie, yeah. So, what will I be charged with, Mr. White? It could be no self-defense for what he did to me, could it? Detective White, no, I don't think so. I think that it raises it to another level. Reggie, I understand. Less than 24 hours after Sidney was murdered, Detective White solves his case. Reginald Sutton subsequently pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 25 years. Ballistics testing confirmed that a 9mm pistol in Dylan's garage was the murder weapon. None of the other guns found in the garage were determined to be involved in the murder. Dylan later admitted to helping Reggie and Terry flee the scene. Dylan and Terry were not charged in connection with the case. 9 months later, Sidney's family remembers him.
3:49 p.m. in Mobile, Alabama. Detectives make their way to the 4th Precinct near the University of South Alabama. It is one of the most prominent colleges. Campus police officers responded to an emergency at the home of a professor. The colleagues of the professor noticed that he did not show up at work. The campus PD did a welfare check on the professor. When they entered his apartment, they found bloodstains on the floor of the professor's apartment. When they walked through the hallway of the professor's apartment, they found the professor lying down dead. His colleagues found it surprising why someone will decide to kill the professor. They immediately put a call through to the police emergency unit to report what they just saw. As soon as they received the call, homicides detectives swung into action to try and unravel what caused the death of the professor, and who might be responsible for the death of the professor. For homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they do not get a lead within the first 48 hours. A few minutes after the detectives received the call, they quickly made their way to the residence of the professor. When they arrived at the professor's residence, they went through his apartment in search of evidence that might help in their investigation. Detective Riley Stewart was the first detective to make an observation. He observed that the door of the victim was locked, but it was opened once, which suggested that the shooter pushed it a bit. Other detectives also made their observations known to Detective Barton. Detective Barton asked for the information of the victim from Detective Riley Stewart. Detective Riley said the name of the victim is Matthew Weiser. Detective Barton told his team members that their work is cut out because there are no witnesses to interrogate, and there are no video cameras in the house that could show them footage of what happened. He said from the look of things, it seems the victim was the only person living in the apartment. Detective Riley Stewart took a walk around the house. He stopped at where the victim was lying down. He discovered that there was a lot of blood pooled under the victim's chest. Detective Barton also noticed a big-sized hole in the door to the left of the apartment. He said it signifies that the victim was just standing on a threshold. He said if the victim was shot in the hallway and the bullet went through the door, it would have made sense to him. Detective Nettles, the deceased, could have heard some noise that could have prompted him to leave his bedroom to the hallway to check where the noise was coming from. He said he might have been shot during the process. He said from the look of things, the victim had no time to react. Detective Barton said some officers would stay and watch over the house while others will regroup at the headquarters the next day. While detectives were at the headquarters the next morning, Detective Julius Nettles received a call from a possible witness. A witness is a student in the school where the professor lectures. The witness claimed that he overheard a possible suspect narrating to someone on the phone how he shot the professor. Detective John Nettles thanked the witness. He told the witness that he would like to meet him so that he can explain what he just told him on the phone better. He obliged to meet with the detectives. He gave the detectives the address of where they can find him. A few minutes later, detectives showed up at the house of the possible witness. Detective Barton asked the witness to explain what he told Detective Nettles on the phone some minutes ago. The witness said he saw a guy walking on the sidewalk. He said the guy is a white gentleman. He said he was on jeans, sneakers, and a black hoodie. He said the guy was on the phone with someone when he saw him. He said the first thing he remembered from what the guy was saying to the person he was talking to was if the person heard what happened with the professor at school. He said he didn't hear what the guy he was talking to said, but what the guy said after that was he did that. He told the guy that he waited until the professor entered his house, and he went inside with him and shot him. Detective Barton asked the witness if he believed the guy was genuine or was just joking. He said he doesn't know if the guy was joking or not, but he doesn't want to take any chance. Detective John Nettles asked the witness how far he thought the guy was when he overheard his phone conversation. He said the guy was approaching from 100 feet away when he overheard his conversation. Detective Julius Nettles asked him where he thinks the possible suspect could have been walking from. He said the only building that is over the area is the Humanities Building. The detectives appreciated the witness and returned to headquarters. After some minutes, detectives got a surveillance video from the security department of the college. A detective pulled up the surveillance video to see what they could find. After searching for hours, they finally found the video of the possible suspect. Detective Julius Nettles said they are trying to get the name of the possible suspect through an attendance sheet. A teacher in the college was able to identify the possible suspect. Detective Barton sent the pictures of the possible suspect to headquarters so that they can check him up in the database. The possible suspect is 19 years old Joseph Edmond. He has no prior convictions. The detectives discovered that Joseph has a car and lives on campus. Detective Baton said they will try to locate the car of the possible witness, and hopefully they can locate him too. Homicide detectives and university police searched the campus for Edmond's car. Edmond's car is a gray Kia Soul. After searching for hours, they finally found Joseph Edmond's car, but there was no one inside the car. A few minutes later, they noticed that a guy was walking to where the car was parked. They identified the guy walking to the car as Edmond Joseph because they already have his picture. Detective Nettles told all detectives to hold their position and allow Joseph to walk closer to his car before they approach him. When Edmond got very close to his car, the detectives alighted from their car and approached Edmond. Detective Julius Nettles introduced himself and informed Edmond that he was from the mobile police department. Detective Nettles asked Edmond for his name, and he said his name is Edmond Joseph. Detective Nettles asked Joseph if he can follow them to the headquarters for a brief talk, and he obliged. Joseph Edmund entered the car with the detective, and they drove to the headquarters. Immediately they arrive at the homicide headquarters. Joseph was taken into an interrogation room for questioning. Detective Nettles and Detective Barton entered the interrogation room, where Joseph was being held, and they locked the door. Detective Nettles asked Joseph if he had any idea why they wanted to have a chat with him. He said he had no idea. Detective Nettles said someone described him, and what the person described was that Joseph was walking through a sidewalk, and the person overheard him having a conversation on the phone with someone. He said the person overheard him saying he killed Mr. Matthew Weiser. He said Joseph now has the opportunity to talk about it and set the record straight. He said if Joseph was joking, then the joke is already over. Joseph said he only talked about it in his criminal justice class. He said someone asked him if he has heard about it. He said he told the person that he has not heard about it, and that was it. Detective Nettles asked Joseph if he remembers talking to anyone on the phone. Joseph said he did not talk to anyone. He told detectives that they can check his call records. Detectives collected Joseph's phone, and they went through his call records. They found out that he didn't receive any call at the time the witness claimed he overheard the confession. Detective Nettles and Detective Barton asked for a moment, and they left the interrogation room. When they returned to where other team members were, they discussed among themselves. They finally agreed that they were going to allow Joseph to go because he cooperated with them very well, and they did not find any evidence from his phone records that suggested that he was the shooter, or he knew anything about the murder of the professor. Detective Barton said what that means is that they are back to square one. Detective Nettles said they have to go back to the University of South Alabama to look for more camera angles in and around the area that could send them in another direction. The next day, Detective Nettles told other team members that he and Detective Barton have taken a look at the video, and they know it is common to wear a black sweatshirt and jeans on campus. They said they couldn't pick out anything from the video because there were too many people in the video. As the first 48 hours slip away, the team has no means of identifying the person that was overheard confessing to the murder. A detective asked Detective Nettles how far away did the witness say the caller was when he overheard his conversation. Detective Nettles said the witness said he was 50 to 100 feet away. The detective said he finds it weird how it is possible for someone that was 50 to 100 feet away to hear a conversation. Detective Nettles said he found it weird too, but he doesn't know why in the world the guy would make that story up. Another detective said they have subpoenaed the phone company for records. He said they should get Nintendo on trying to see if they can track the switch. In the first 48 hours, mobile homicide detectives responded to the murder of 39-year-old Dr. Matthew Weiser, who was shot inside his own house. Detectives found evidence of forced entry. They collected his computers and paperwork to search for a lead. They learned that a tipster overheard that a university student confessing to the murder. They spoke to a student who matched the possible suspect's description, but ruled him out as Matthew's killer. 12 days later, the detectives got the victim's phone records. At 11:25 a.m., the day when the victim was discovered, the person that was picking him up to take him to school was to pick him up around noon, which shows that the professor was still alive between 11:25 and 12, and which makes the window very narrow as when he was murdered. Detective Kenneth said he has looked into the victim's phone, and everything he saw suggested that the victim had no enemies. Detective Barton said the situation looked to him like a home burglary. He said it's probably more juvenile since they know a Nintendo Switch was taken. Detective Barton said he talked with someone from Nintendo, and the person told him that if a person used the device, or connects the device to an internet source, then the device would be registered on an IP address. He said hopefully through subpoenaing the victim's username through Nintendo, he might get the information if the device is powered on. 10 days later, Detective Barton got a call from Nintendo. He said on the 7th of December around noon, the Switch registered on an IP address, which was a week after the victim was murdered. He said the device came up for just 10 minutes between 14 and 14:10 around St. Louis. He said they would get a search warrant before going there, and he hopes they find someone there when they get there. The detectives got to the location, but they didn't find the suspect. A few hours later, detectives received a call on the possible whereabouts of the suspect. Detectives immediately left the headquarters in search of the possible suspect. When the team arrived at the apartment, they noticed that there was movement in the apartment. Detective Barton cited Tickez and Curtis Warmack Jr. He told them to come out with their hands on their heads. He repeated it when he noticed that they were not moving close to the front door. They finally came out and they were taken to homicide headquarters for questioning. When homicide detectives arrived at the headquarters, Tickez and Warmack were taken into separate investigation rooms. Detective Julius Nettles and Detective Barton chose to talk to Curtis first. They entered the interrogation room where Curtis was being held and they locked the door. They told Curtis that Tickez has gotten himself in a situation. Curtis asked the detectives what kind of situation did Tickez got into. They told him that they are investigating a homicide and they know that Tickez is connected to the homicide. Curtis said he doesn't know anything. He said if his little brother did something, he would have told him about it. Detective Nettles told Curtis that they have a lot of information that showed that his brother is involved in the homicide. Curtis said they got the wrong person. He said there is nothing he or his brother would get involved in. After that, he said he was done talking. Detective Barton and Detective Nettles left the interrogation room and moved to the next interrogation room where Tickez was been detained. When they entered the room, they asked Tickez if he has any idea why they wanted to talk to him. He said heard that he was supposed to tell them about a Nintendo Switch. They asked him why he didn't want to tell them about the Nintendo Switch. Tickez said he bought the game and sold it because he wanted to make extra money. They asked him where he got the game. He said he got the game at the Circle K on an overlook in the university. He said a dude walked up to him and told him that he has a game he wants to sell. He said he gave the dude $75 for the game. The detectives told Tickez that they know that he did not buy the Switch from the Circle K. They said his car and his GPS were outside of where a homicide occurred at the time of the homicide. Detective Nettles told Tickez that the person that was murdered was a professor of economics at the South Alabama University. Detective Barton told Tickez that the records that they have shown that Tickez was on that street at the time the murder occurred. Detective Nettles opened his phone for Tickez to see what he was talking about. He showed Tickez the picture of the university and a galliard standing over there. He asked Tickez what was going on at that time that required him to be on that street. He said he was probably passing through. Detective Barton said his car was passing through N. Gaylord at around the same time the murder occurred, and he had the Nintendo Switch that belonged to the guy that got killed. Detective Barton asked Tickez if he picked anybody up on the road. Tickez said he did not pick anybody on the road. Detective Barton told Tickez that the reason he does not want to be truthful to them is either he was the one that killed the professor, or he knows the guy that murdered the professor, and he doesn't want to disclose the person's identity. Tickez said he has told them everything he knew about what happened. Detective Barton told Tickez that he has to understand that he might be charged with murder. He told him that if he was not the person that pulled the trigger, then there is no reason why he should take it for whoever it is. Tickez said he doesn't have anything to say again. Detective Julius Nettles and Detective Barton left the interrogation to where other team members were sitting. When they got there, Detective Nettles said he was not sure if Tickez was the person that carried out the murder. The detectives decided to check Tickez's phone records. In the process of checking, they discovered that Tickez received a call around 11:30 a.m. They checked the identity of the person Tickez called, and they traced the call back to Curtis. With the new information in hand, Detective Barton and Detective Germain Rogers returned to the interrogation room where Tickez was been detained. When they entered the room, they confronted Tickez with the new information they got from his phone. At that point, Tickez began to change his phone. He asked the detectives if he was going to jail. They told him it depends on what they will find out at the end of the investigation. They told him he has to start talking now. He doesn't have to wrap the story up. Detective Nettles said they know he has found himself in a difficult situation, but he has the opportunity to do the right thing by telling them the truth. Tickez asked the detectives if he can give them a name. They said he can. He said he will write it either. Tickez was given a pen and a piece of paper. He wrote down the name of Derrick Scott. He said Derrick Scott was the reason he was on the street. Detective Barton asked to tell him why. He said he dropped off Derrick Scott near the professor's house. Detective Barton said he guessed Derrick broke into the professor's house. Tickez answered in the affirmative. Detective Barton asked how he knew he was to pick Derrick up that day. He said Derrick Scott called him. Detective Barton asked Tickez what he thought happened when he picked up Derrick Scott. Tickez said Derrick told him that he went into the house and the dude came out of the room and he shot him. Detective Nettles asked Tickez whether he saw Derrick Scott with a gun when he came out. Tickez said he saw him with a revolver. Detective Nettles asked Tickez why his brother was calling him. He said his brother was calling him several times within that time frame. Tickez said his brother was just checking on him. Detective Nettles asked Tickez if he told his brother about it. He said he told his brother about it. He said he told his brother that Derrick said he shot someone. Detective Nettles and Detective Germain asked for a quick second and they both left the interrogation room. The detective, having interrogated both Curtis and Tickez, believed they have all the information they needed to charge both of them for the murder of Professor Matthew Weiser. They put a call through to the district DOA to ascertain if their evidence were strong enough to charge them with the murder of Professor Matthew Weiser. The district DOA said the evidence they have is enough to charge them to court. She said they should be charged with felony murder. On the advice of the district DOA, Tickez Timmons, Derrick Scott, and Curtis Womack Jr. were charged with the murder of Professor Matthew Wise. OUTRO. Tickez Timmons was charged with felony murder, and he is awaiting trial. Derrick Scott was charged with felony murder, and he is awaiting trial. Curtis Womack Jr.'s phone records put him at the scene during the homicide. A crowbar from Curtis Womack Jr.'s car was found to have paint chips that matched the victim's back door. Curtis Womack Jr. was also charged with felony murder, and he is awaiting trial. 1 year later, Matthew's father and brother remember him. His father said his absolute favorite sport was LSU football. He said LSU won the championship this year, and he knew he would have enjoyed that if he was alive. He said he texted Matthew the night of the victory even though Matthew had been gone for a few months then. He said he and Matthew's brother were still going to be guessing to some extent why somebody would kill Matthew. He said it seemed so senseless to him. Matthew's brother said the individuals who did it and the actions they took resulted in the death of someone who hasn't done anything to deserve it. He said it's quite likely that the person that did that to Matthew will do it to other people as well. Matthew's father said he feels the same way too, but he is happy that those that killed his son are off the streets.
"11:37 p.m. in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A caller put a call through across to EMCA. As soon as the EMCA operator picked the call, he asked the caller about her emergency. The caller said her son has been shot. The operator asked the caller if her son has any serious bleeding. She replied in the affirmative. The operator told the caller to stay on the line because they already have an ambulance coming her way. Within a few minutes, the Tulsa police unit arrived at the house of the caller. They introduced themselves and the caller immediately let them in. She took them to where her son was lying. A detective asked her where the boy was shot at and she showed him. The detective noticed that the boy got one bullet to the chest and exit to the back. For homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they do not get a lead within the first 48 hours. Detective Jason White, who has been in the unit for more than 10.5 years, will lead the case, which is his 80th case. Detective Jason began his investigation immediately. He jumped into his car and headed to an area in the northwest part of the city in Osage County. He was told that the victim was shot in the driveway but managed to make it inside the house. The victim suffered gunshot wounds to the chest, arm, and leg. Doctors were unable to save him. He died of injuries. When Detective Jason White arrived at the scene of the incident, he asked Detective Ronnie Leatherman, who was among the first respondent to the incident, if they have any information. Detective Jason Leatherman said they have gotten the name of the victim. He said the name of the victim is Kim Hayes. 26 years old Kim Hayes was born and raised in Tulsa in a close-knit family. He worked for an industrial manufacturer and just celebrated his daughter's first birthday. Detective Ronnie Leatherman told Detective Jason White that they have gotten a search waiver signed by the mom. Detective Jason White asked him if the mom stays there. Detective Ronnie said the house belongs to the mom. He said the mom and the victim's girlfriend live there. The detective said they saw blood trails everywhere. They found a blood trail on the side of the car and down the garage. Detective Jason asked him where the victim was found. He said the victim was found in the house. Detective Jason himself joined the detectives in the on-site investigation. When they moved to the garage where the detectives told him they found blood trails, they found a .380 gun with bloodstains on it. Detective Jason said it might be the victim's gun. A detective said maybe. When they walked down out of the garage, they found 5 casings scattered across the driveway and into the street. They also noticed that all the cartridges of the casings were 380 seconds. Detective Jason White asked if the victim has a phone. The detective told him that the victim's phone is in the driveway. He told him that he has a password for the victim's phone. The password is slime. Detective Jason White said it's an interesting password. When they took a walk further down the house, they saw a pill bottle. The name on the pill bottle is Charles Bose and it's hydrocodone. Detective Ronnie said hydrocodone is an opioid pain medication that is commonly sold on the streets. Detective Ronnie said that according to the neighbors, there has been a lot of foot traffic and vehicle traffic from the house recently. He said it's probably drug-related. Detective Jason White said he is going to holler at the witness next door. He went to the neighbor and introduced himself. He asked the neighbor what he saw. The neighbor said he was about to go to bed. He heard some argument outside and he looked out through his window. He said he saw the victim and 2 other guys tussling on the driveway. Right at the end, he said he heard gunshots which took his heart rate and everything up to a different level. He said the guy that was standing over the victim unloaded like 5 or 6 rounds and pointed blank over the victim. Detective Jason White asked him what the victim did next. He said his wife thought she saw him get up and he think he was able to return fire. Detective Jason asked him what the guys looked like. He said they looked African American. They were tall. One was probably about 61. He said it wasn't the first time that he has heard people coming in and out. Detective Jason White asked him if there has a lot of traffic in that apartment. He said there has been a lot of traffic over the last year or so, but he thought since he had a baby, he has cleaned some things up. Detective White thanked the neighbor and went back to his team members. He told his team members that what he understood from what the neighbor said is that 2 guys were fighting, and the suspect was over the top of him. One of the suspects was shot into him multiple times. He said he calmed down or something after he had a baby. Detective Jason said the victim's mom and girlfriend will be taken downtown. He said he wants to talk to them and get their story as quickly as possible. When they arrived at the homicide headquarters, the victim's mom and his girlfriend were taken into different interrogation rooms. Detective Jason told Detective Ronnie that he thinks they should talk to the girlfriend first because she will probably have more information than the mom. When they entered the interrogation room where the victim's girlfriend was being kept, Detective Jason White introduced himself and introduced Detective Ronnie Leatherman. Detective Jason White said he is sorry that she is going through all of this. He said he wants her to shed some light and help him out on the murder. He said he wants her to tell him what happened tonight. The victim's girlfriend said it was like every other night. They had a night routine with their daughter. She said their daughter ate dinner at around 7:45 and they laid her down. She said when it was time to lay her down, they lay down together. She said as soon as their daughter fell asleep, Kim hopped up and left the room because he was already texting someone while they were laying their daughter to sleep. She said Kim went straight to the garage and opened the garage door. She said she went to the bathroom to grab a cigarette and she went out because that is what she does. She said suddenly she heard loud noises. She said she knows what a gunshot sounds like. She said heard up to 9 gunshots. She said the gunshots came repeatedly. She said at that point she knew Kim was in trouble. She said she opened the door and Kim started yelling, "Get down! Get down." She said she heard the shots and all she saw Kim do was just dart to the threshold of the garage door and just over and over. She said that was when she noticed blood and Kim immediately turned around and looked at her. She said he was telling her to call the ambulance. She said blood was coming out of his mouth as he was coming down the stairs. She said she went and grabbed towels because his mom met them at the stairs. She said she grabbed a towel and she applied pressure on the wound. She said she placed his head on her lap and she kept hitting him as hard as she could. She said every time he closed his eyes, she kept telling him, "You're strong. You can do this. You're dumb. You've done this before." She said he was shot 3 times in the stomach last year. Detective Ronnie asked Kim's girlfriend what he was doing on his phone before he went to sleep. She said she asked Kim who he was texting, and he told her it was his friend Charles. She said she told him that she has never heard that name before. She asked him who is Charles, and she asked him what was going on. Kim said Charles was supposed to bring him some Roxy's to sell. Detective Ronnie asked her what Roxy's are. She said Roxy's are OxyContin. She guessed. She said Roxy's was one of the main things that Kim sells. Detective Jason asked her if Kim told her that Charles was coming with somebody else. She said he did not. She said when he was shot and his head was on her lap. She said she kept asking him Charles' last name. She said Kim kept trying to say something, but she couldn't understand what it was. She said she kept asking him Charles who, and he said Charles Boras. She said now she knows is Bose. Detective Jason asked her how she knew. She said she messaged a childhood friend of Kim. She said they went to school together when they were kids. She said they all went to Central together. She said Kim's friend told her that Charles Bose is an old friend from high school. She said she was trying to put it together in her head just because she is familiar with living a very bad lifestyle before she got pregnant. She said she changed her lifestyle around. She said Kim did too for the most part. She said right after they had their baby, she and Kim went from being close friends to being lovers. She said Kim gave her a promise ring before their baby turned a year old. She said they were on their way to getting to know their place. Detective John commended her for being extremely strong because she has helped them with her statement. Detective Jason White turns to Kim's mother. He asked her what happened that night. She said she was downstairs watching Longmire. She said she just heard some rat-a-tat-tat bangs. She said the next thing she knew was they were coming in the front door and Kim was saying he has been shot. Detective Jason asked her if she heard Kim talk about who shot him. She said she did not. He was just in a lot of pain. Detective Jason asked her if she knows anything about what Kim has been doing or if he has a lot of people come over for various reasons. She said no, because there is a lot she doesn't know. She said she doesn't know what her son has been involved in, but he promised her that he was not involved in anything. She said she is not saying he is innocent or not, but Kim was doing fine because he was working every day. Detective Jason asked her about her relationship with Kim's girlfriend. She said they are good. She said she was homeless when she picked her and brought her to her house. Detective Jason said she has to be strong for both Kim's girlfriend and her granddaughter. He said she will be living in her house temporarily. She said no problem. She said her focus is KH low. She wants to know when she can see him. Detective Jason said she cannot see him in the medical examiner's office. She can only see him in a funeral home. He said he cannot imagine what she is feeling right now, but his goal is for justice to be served. He said she should not hesitate if anything comes up. Using Kim's password, Sergeant Nathan Schilling scanned through his text messages leading up to the murder. He said the text message showed that Kim was bringing a pill bill. He had concerned about whether they were real or not. Kim said he has a baby now, so he isn't playing any game. He said he is a number guy, and as long as the numbers stay straight, they are going to eat. The person that was coming to meet him replied to Kim that what did he mean because he is confused. The person said they are real and there is no press. Kim told him he wants to know when he is pulling up so that he can raise the garage door. Detective Jason asked Sergeant Nathan that what time did the text come in. Sergeant Nathan said it was around 10:51 p.m. He pulled up at 10:52, 10:53 bet. He said that was his last going. Detective Jason said that's the guy. Sergeant Nathan said the number the victim was having a back and forth with who was going to deliver pills checks to Charles Bose. Detective Ronnie pulled up a picture of Charles when he was arrested last year. 27 years old Charles Bose is a local rap artist and has no prior felony murder convictions. Detective Jason said they know that Charles Bose was there. His pill bottle was on the street. He said they have to build a case up. He said he wants to be able to arrest the cat. He said there was another guy that was him too. Detective Ronnie said they may have to watch a body cam. Detective Jason hopes body cam footages from first responders will turn up a lead. He said if the video shows the victim mentioning that name, he thinks they are good from that. Detective Ronnie finally got the officer's body camera video uploaded. He said they are going to watch it and see if the victim gives any more details about what happened. When they watched it, they saw where the victim mentioned the name of Charles Bose. Detective Jason said it's a powerful piece of evidence. He said he thinks it falls under the category of dying declaration. Detective Ronnie said, with a dying declaration, the person who's dying will have to talk to them and tell them there is a good chance he was going to die. He will be asked if he understands what he was saying, and the person will say yes, he is about to die. But this is the person who did it. Detective Ronnie said if it passes through those stages, then it can be used as evidence in court. He said hopefully they will be able to use it as a dying declaration. He said he doesn't think it is going to be an issue as far as getting Charles Bose arrested. He said there was a pill bottle where the shooting happened that had his name. Also, he was the last person Kim was talking to. He thinks that they have plenty piece of evidence to get him. Detective Jason said they will put everything together the next morning, and they will submit it to the DA so that they can get an arrest warrant. Detective Ronnie said there is still the question of the second person when the shooting happened. He said just because Charles was there doesn't necessarily mean he was the shooter. He said it could be the other guy that they do not know about. 38 hours after Kim was murdered, Detective Jason said they have gotten the warrant signed for Charles Bose. He said he has notified the Fugitive Warrants Unit to start the hunt for Charles Bose. The team headed to several known addresses for Charles Bose, but one after the other, they came up empty. In the first 48, Tulsa homicide responded to the murder of Kim Hayes, who was gunned down in his mother's driveway. Detectives learned that an eyewitness saw two men struggling with Kim before one of them shot him. They discovered that Kim made a dying declaration naming Charles Bose as one of the suspects, but they have been unable to track him down. 18 hours into the search for Charles Bose, Detective Jason said the fugitive warrant guys said they have been setting up surveillance on the potential house where Charles Bose may have been staying. They have set up surveillance in that location and apparently, they have followed him to another location. He said they have him spotted. He is presently sitting in a car. He said they are maintaining surveillance at the moment. The fugitive warrant finally arrested Charles. Detective Jason said whether he is the shooter or not, they will probably get to know. He said Charles doesn't seem like somebody that is a criminal type. Detective Jason said he wants to know who the second guy is, and he is hopeful that Charles Bose will tell him. Nearly 3 days after Kim was murdered, Charles Bose was brought to homicide. As soon as he entered homicide headquarters, he was taken into an interrogation room for questioning. Detective Jason White immediately moved to the room to interrogate Charles. When Detective Jason entered the room, Charles was lying on the floor. Detective Jason told Charles to sit up. Charles disagreed. He said he wants a lawyer. Detective Ronnie entered the investigation room and told Charles that they need his fingerprint and his DNA. Detective Jason told his team members that Charles said he wouldn't speak to them. Detective Ronnie said the witness who lived next door saw some sort of a physical altercation. He said if you look at Charles' hand, it was taped up. Detective Jason commended Detective Ronnie for good observation, and he told him he was going to photograph that. Detective Jason said Charles will have to be transported to Osage County. When the detectives that were going to transport Charles entered the interrogation room, they saw him doing something. The detectives asked Charles what he was doing. Charles said he was spelling something out. When he was taken out, detectives went to the room to see what Charles was spelling. They noticed that he spelled out innocent. Detective Jason White said the evidence they have does not support that right now. With no leads on the second suspect, detectives headed back to Kim's neighborhood with the hope that they will get someone in Kim's neighborhood that might have the surveillance video from the night that he was murdered. They looked at all the videos of the people in Kim's neighborhood, but they didn't get anything. 2 months go by without any leads, and then detectives got some welcome news. Detective Jason told his team members that they will go to Pawhuska to visit Charles Bose. He said Charles' attorney reached out and indicated to them that Charles was willing to tell them the story. Detective Jason said he thinks Charles has seen that the case against him is incredibly strong, and he doesn't have much of a choice than to try to have a little self-preservation. Detective White and Detective Ronnie Leatherman headed to Pawhuska in Osage County where Charles Bose has been held. When Detective Jason met Charles, he introduced himself. And he told Charles that his attorney reached out to him that he wanted to tell them the story about what happened. Charles claimed Kim put him in touch with a man who was going to buy his prescription drugs. Detective Jason asked Charles how he got played. Charles said he gave Kim some pills, and he gave him an envelope with some napkins in it. Detective Jason said, and he left before he realized that he has been screwed over. He said yes. Detective Jason asked him how much they were talking about that his buddy ended up taking him for. Charles said it was like $600 or $700. Charles said, so he hit Kim up to tell him who the dude was because he was going to beat him up for scamming him. He said Kim didn't want to give up the dude because he didn't want to be in the middle of it. Detective Jason told Charles that there is a lot of messages on Kim's phone between the both of them about pills. He said both of them were discussing a transaction. Charles said it wasn't a transaction. He said he told Kim that if he gets the dude over there and lets him get on one-on-one with the guy, he will let him have the pills. He said he told Kim that he set him up. He said he told Kim that they have known each other for a long time. He shouldn't have done what he did. He said after that, he punched Kim and they started fighting. He said he ended up slamming Kim on the ground. He said Kim had his arms locked into where he couldn't move his arm. Detective Jason said what happened after that. Charles said his cousin pulled him off Kim. When he pulled him off Kim got up and started reaching like he had something. He said then he heard shots go off and he took off running. Detective Jason asked Charles that who was his cousin, that kinfolk that came over there with him. Charles said his name is Lawrence. Detective Jason asked Charles if his cousin was worried after the incident happened. Charles said he knew he was worried because he knows he is not that type of dude. Charles said it was like some type of situation, but he hopes he didn't screw his cousin up. Detective Jason asked Charles if he knew that Kim died. Charles said he didn't know until 2 days later. Charles said he didn't know anything happened because Kim was popping back. Detective Jason thanked him and he left. Back at Homicide, Detective Jason told his team members that he thinks Charles was minimizing some of his involvement. He said he identified his cousin as Lawrence Mitchell. Detective Charles said he is going to pull up Lawrence Mitchell. 23 years old Lawrence Mitchell performed local gigs as a rapper. He has a previous conviction for possession of a firearm. Lawrence was arrested 4 months after the murder for failing to appear in court on an unrelated firearm charge. Detective Jason said they will try to talk to Lawrence. Lawrence was transported from Tulsa County Jail down to Homicide. Detective Jason said it took a lot of time to get the warrant issued for him because of COVID and other things. He said once that happened, they went down to the jail to go pick him up. He said he hopes that Lawrence will tell them what's up. Detective Jason and Detective Ronnie went into the interrogation room to have a chat with Lawrence. When they entered, Detective Jason told Lawrence that he knows his cousin and he has spoken to him. He said he just wants Lawrence to tell him what happened. Lawrence said he would never have left the room out of his house if Charles didn't call him. Detective Jason asked Lawrence that who was the person that called him. Lawrence said his big cousin Charles Bose. He said he got a call from his cousin asking him if he can ride with him. He said Charles also asked him if he can bring the pistol. He said he asked Charles what he needed the pistol for. He said Charles said he just needs his help. He said he got into the car with Charles, and they went over there. He said he was in the car when he heard some altercation. Detective Ronnie asked Lawrence if he knew the background of the altercation. He said he just knew the altercation was over some pills. He said he thinks Charles owed Kim some money. Detective Jason asked Lawrence if Charles owed Kim some money or vice versa. Lawrence said vice versa. Lawrence said Kim took of Charles, telling Charles that he wasn't paying him. Lawrence said he was sitting in the car looking at them as they were fighting. He said he was like they will soon be done. Lawrence said the fight went on for like 7 minutes. He said he got out of the car and he told his cousin that they need to break that up. He said it was that time that the neighbors started coming outside. He said he told his cousin that they should get out of there. He said he told his cousin that he has a pistol on him and he doesn't want to get caught because he is already fighting a case. He said Charles let Kim go. As soon as he did that, he upped on him. He said he asked his cousin what he was doing. He said Charles told him that he was threatening with a pistol. He said Charles shot He weaved. He shot again and he weaved. Then he shot him. Detective Jason asked Lawrence how many times he shot. Lawrence said he doesn't know, but it was like 4 times. He said he already had mines out before Charles drew. He said when Charles drew the shot, that was when he emptied his. Detective Jason asked Lawrence if he ever spoke to Charles after that. He said Charles came the next day. Charles was like he can deal with it. He said he felt bad. It shouldn't have ended that way. Lawrence said he takes full responsibility. He said his cousin has a whole lot of family. He said he didn't have to talk to them, but he was just trying to get the heat off his cousin. Detective Ronnie told Lawrence that he has a lot of respect for him for stepping up to do the right thing. He said he wished Lawrence had done it in May. Lawrence told Detective Ronnie that he fell in love. He said he doesn't want her to know what's going on because he didn't want to put her in this situation. He said he was trying to bond out and get married because he didn't know what it feels like. He said now he has to tell her what's going on for real. Detective Jason appreciated Lawrence for being kind and left the interrogation room. Charles Bose was charged with first-degree murder and he is awaiting trial. Lawrence Mitchell was charged with first-degree murder and possession of a firearm. He is awaiting trial. The First 48 Hours, Season 22, Episode 3, A Beautiful Life. Story based on ND, public news reports, and police reports. 12:27 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 911 operators received a call from an unknown caller. 911 operator, do you need police, fire, or medical? Caller, somebody just got shot. 911 operator, where's the person that shot him? Caller, I don't know. I was driving and I just heard the shot and I heard him scream. And I looked and I saw him lying there. He's lying on the ground and there's blood everywhere. He's naked. 911 operator, okay, let me get you connected with the MSA. Detectives immediately rushed to the scene of the incident. They met a dead body lying on the ground just as the caller said. 53 years old Michael Binder was born in Chicago and raised in Hawaii. He moved to Tulsa 17 years ago, living for a time with his mother and stepfather. Michael struggled with drug addiction for many years, but he was active in his church and was trying to turn his life around. Michael was struck once in the side of his head. Patrol transported a neighbor and the apartment leasing agent who called 911. While detectives Reggie Warren and Max Ryden continued working on the scene, 2 other detectives decided to go downtown to conduct interviews. From there, they will go ahead and start digging into the victim's past. Maybe they might get lucky with some information. An hour later, Detective Max Ryden gets a lead after answering a call to the victim's phone. Michael's friend Stuart said Michael planned to meet a woman earlier in the day. Detective Mark told other team members that Detective Max has been answering the victim's phone as it's been ringing. He told them there was someone that called that he's going to meet with that has some information. He said they were going to just get through those witnesses. While Detective White gets started with Michael's neighbor, Detective Leatherman interviews the leasing agent. Detective Ronnie, my name is Ronnie. I'm a detective here. I'll just ask you to tell whatever story you have and we'll go from there. Mike's neighbor, I was in my car and I heard someone screaming help, and then I heard something that sounded like a pop. Then, I saw 2 people running. Detective Ronnie, were they running from the apartment where the shooting happened? Mike's neighbor, yeah. I saw them just driving by. Then, I saw his body, so I parked my car and got out to see if he is okay because I knew who he was. Detective Ronnie, okay. Mike's neighbor, I saw his body there and I didn't know how to react. Detective Ronnie, can you describe the people you saw running as best as you can? Mike's neighbor, honestly, I saw just 2 white people. One of them had blonde hair. It may be down or up. It was kind of long, so it was a female. Mike's neighbor, yeah. The other guy is a white man, I think. I didn't see their faces. Detective Ronnie, have you noticed them out there before? Mike's neighbor, no. Detective Ronnie, have you had any struggles with him? Mike's neighbor, no, not with him. He is really quiet. I remember he was just trying to get his life together. I know he had a past with drugs because I did his background check, but he was not violent. He was all about peace. Next door, Detective Mark is ready to interrogate another neighbor of Mike. She said she parked outside his apartment moments before the shooting. Detective Mark, all right, so just tell me what happened. Mike's neighbor, I saw a guy and a woman going towards that apartment. They knocked and they went in. About 30 seconds later, I heard the guy yelling for help. After that, the gun went off. After that, they ran off. Detective Mark, were they white or black? Mike's neighbor, both are white. The male has a beard and short hair. The female has blonde hair. Detective Mark, okay. Mike's neighbor, both of them were very skinny. Detective, maybe they used drugs kind of skinny. Mike's neighbor, yeah. Detective Ryden returns from speaking with Michael's friend. Detective Ronnie came out of the interrogation room to address other officers. He said both witnesses described the suspects as a white male and a female with blonde hair. He said other than that they couldn't give any additional identifiers. Detective Ryden returns from speaking with Michael's friend. He said the victim was in some program where he gets help getting an apartment and a job and stuffs like that. He said the guy he just talked to known as Stuart said he's back into selling meth. He said it looks like he would have lots of girls over there doing drugs. He said Stuart was with him all night. He said a little after 4 a.m., he went to his house, and he said while he was there, he was going to re-up with his plug. Michael gave Stuart the name of the woman that supplied him with drugs. He said he was supposed to re-up for 4 to 5 ounces. Michael told Stuart that he was afraid of her. He said he left around 5:30 a.m., and the plug had still not gotten there. The detective said they need to have access to Michael's phone. Michael's phone received several Facebook message alerts. Unfortunately, there is a lock pattern on Michael's phone. The team hopes to find out if Michael was in contact with his supplier. Detective White has to wait to get Michael's phone records and Facebook Messenger history because of the lock pattern on Michael's phone. Detective Ryden notified Michael's mother and stepfather. His parents said he is the most non-violent person you will ever meet. They said he will rather give someone his money than fight over it. His parents have lost 2 sons in the last 2 years over drug issues. Detective Mark, hey, what did you find out? Tell me you have some videos. Detective Reggie, no. The apartment complex building has one surveillance camera that doesn't work. The detectives were shocked that the camera could not capture anything in broad daylight. Detective Mark said he will revisit the area. Maybe some witnesses may come up and start talking to him. 20 hours in, a detective said he will make a flyer that he will rake to the complex. He said some of the people over there might have a camera in their residence, and he will like to have a bunch of it to be able to hand out with his phone number on it. And he will also be able to put the word out that they are looking for some information. Another detective said they should take the victim's phone along so that if anybody calls, they will have his contact right away. Detective White drove back to the scene of the incident to see if he could find some witnesses he could talk to. As soon as he alighted from his car, he saw a young man walking and he approached him. Detective White, I'm working on this homicide that happened yesterday. Witness, I heard the shot. Detective White, did you see anybody run after you heard the shot? Witness, no sir, I did not. Detective White, I'm going to give you this flyer. My number is there. If you hear anything, let me know. While surveying the crime scene, Detective Mark saw an apartment that has a camera. He immediately rushed down to the apartment. Detective Mark, hey there, I noticed you have a camera. House owner, I do. And unfortunately, my internet was shut off. Detective White, okay well, disappointing. But thank you. While Detective White entered his car and he was about to move, a call came through the deceased phone. Detective White, my name is Detective White. I noticed that you've been calling Mike's phone. Had you heard what happened to Mike? Caller, I heard the news this morning and I was afraid it might be him. Detective White, yeah, it's him. How well do you know him? Caller, I was homeless at one time and I stayed with him for a while. Detective White, where are you at now? Maybe I can holler at you and you might be able to help me out. Caller, I was headed over to his place to see if he was there. Detective White, I'll be right across his apartment. Okay. After some few minutes, the caller arrived and Detective White allowed her into his car. Detective White, I am sorry you are going through this. Caller, he was a good person. Detective White, honestly, I have not heard from one person that he was a bad guy. What has he been up to? Caller, I don't know. I know he has talked about how he has been ripped off a couple of times. Detective White, okay. Did he tell you how long ago he got robbed? Caller, probably a month ago. Detective White, did he give you any of the details? Caller, he said a woman ripped him off. Detective White, do you know who she is? Caller, no, I do not. Detective White, I know he was selling meth, but do you know who he was supplied by? Caller, no, I don't. I want to know who did this. Detective White, I do too, and he's got some nice parents that are devastated. As the first 48 hours wind down, Detective White updates Mike's father. He told him he hoped was that people would have started calling him, but that has not happened yet. He said they were not going to stop and they will continue to work with everything they have. Mike's father said that sounds great and he appreciates the efforts of the detectives. In the first 48 hours, Tulsa Homicide responded to the shooting death of 53 years old Michael Binder. They learned that a white and a blonde woman were seen fleeing his apartment. They also heard that Michael may have returned to selling drugs and planned to meet a supplier on the day he was murdered. They got a warrant to search Michael's phone and Facebook page. They have searched for witnesses at Michael's apartment complex, but have come up empty. The next day, someone called Detective White's phone and left a message. Detective White played the voice note for Detective Ronnie so. The caller said he wanted to remain anonymous, but he has some information about the shooting in Tulsa. He said he knows the girl and she told him what happened in detail last night. He left a phone number that Detective White can use to get to them. Let me try to call it, Detective White told Detective Ronnie. Detective White called him and he agreed to meet with him. Detective White and Detective Ronnie headed to the meeting point where they agreed to meet with the tipster. The tipster said Michael's supplier is staying at a nearby motel. 4 days after Michael's murder, the warrants team sets up surveillance on the supplier's motel room. A few minutes later, a car drove to the door of the supplier. A white male with a gray t-shirt came down from the car and knocked on the door of the room. He was let in by someone who the detectives were not able to identify then. A few minutes later, the white guy came out of the room with a female loading the stuff off. They both entered the vehicle and started driving. The detectives tracked down their car and arrested them. They and the detectives headed back to homicide. Immediately they arrived at the homicide. Both of them were taken into a separate room for questioning. Detective White and Detective Zanoni entered the investigation room, where the white female was been held. "Hello, my name is Detective Jason White and this is Detective Zanoni over here," he said. "I'm working on a murder. That's what we do." He said they know sometimes in these investigations, people do stupid things. Female suspect, yeah, I see where you are going with your investigation. I was in his house. When I left him, he was completely fine. Detective White, let's stop. Whose apartment did you go to? Female suspect, Mike. Detective White, the day he got murdered. Female suspect, yeah, that day. Detective White, what time were you over there? Female suspect, it was 7:50 a.m. Detective White, did you ever go back in that apartment that day? Female suspect, no, not at all. Detective White, you went over there with whom? Female suspect, with a man and another woman. Detective White, why did you go over there? Female suspect, he wanted me to come over there and see him. Detective White, for what? Female suspect, just go and visit him. Detective White, here is the decision that you have to make. Either you want to go down the road of I want to savage my life and I want to have a life, or you want to go down with somebody else potentially for the rest of your life. He said he doesn't think they had any issues other than he was a little bit behind on his. She interjected by saying he didn't owe her any money. She said he didn't owe her a single dime. Detective White told her she will go to jail for murder. She interjected in a sober mood saying she had no idea who killed the victim. Detective White asked her where she was. She said after she left Michael's apartment, she and her friends spent the afternoon at a flea market. Detective White, if anybody tells me that you are going to confess you were there, then that is a flat-out lie. Female suspect, absolutely, it is a lie. Detective White, do you have any objections to us looking at your phone? Female suspect, yeah, you can look. Detective White, all right. Sit tight and be patient. Detectives started going through her phone. They found a text between her and the friend she said she met up with around the time Michael was murdered. The text corroborates her alibi. Detectives discovered the information they got from the tipster was not correct. They know it's frustrating, but they had no other option than to release the two suspects. 2 weeks later, Michael's Facebook Messenger records finally came in. Detectives found a series of messages between him and his female. The name of the female is Lena Rocher. The messages were sent before the homicide happened. The conversations were like hanging out. There was somewhere in the conversation where the victim told his female friend that he was going to give her 2 zips if she makes it to his apartment within an hour. Detective Mike asked Detective Ronnie what a zip means after he read that part of the message. Detective Ronnie told him a zip means an ounce. Lena arrived at Michael's complex 30 minutes before his murder. Detectives were able to get her picture and her location through the Facebook Messenger chat. They got to know that she is a blonde-haired lady who lives in Sapulpa. Detective White immediately called the Sapulpa PD for a background check on Lena. The Sapulpa PD told detectives that she has some stuff on her. He said she had no prior felony convictions, but she is a person of interest in a missing firearm investigation. The Sapulpa PD told Tulsa detectives that Lena could be wrapped up tonight if they want it done. Tulsa detectives told him that will be great. Detective White told them he will be more than happy to come to them. An hour later, Sapulpa PD brings in Lena. Detective White and Detective Ronnie made their way to the Sapulpa police station to try and talk to Lena and see what she has to say. Detective White and Detective Ronnie made their way to the interrogation room as soon as they arrived at the police station. Detective White, hello young lady, I do not know the reason why they brought you here, but I wanted to talk to you about something else. Do you know how to read and write? Lena, yes. Detective White, and you read what is on my shirt and it says homicide. Lena, yes. Detective White, do you have any idea why I want to speak with you? Lena, yeah, honestly, yeah. Michael Binder, Detective White, yep. Lena, he was my friend. I helped him once. They wanted me to go over there so they can just take his grocery home. Detective White, okay, who are they? Lena, Nicholas Gibson and Ruthie Blair. Detective White, how do you these guys? Lena, through Samuel Washington. Detective White, how did you guys end up over there? Lena, honestly, I was supposed to be getting in some stuff. Meth. And they wanted to try to take his stuff from him. Detective White, tell me what went down when you got to the apartments. Lena, I knocked on the door and he let me in. And then I went in the bathroom, which is where I was when they came in. Detective White, did you intentionally leave the door open or unlocked? Lena, yeah, I left the door unlocked. Detective White, okay, knowing that they were going to come behind you. Lena, yes. Detective White, did they come inside the apartment on their own? Lena, yeah. I came out because I heard all the noise and they told me to get on the fucking floor. Those were their exact words. He got up and took off running. He went to the door and started shouting for help. I heard a bang. Detective Ronnie, who's the one that pulled the trigger? Lena, Nicholas Gibson. Detective White, and then, what did you guys do? Lena, fled. She said they fled in a car that she parked nearby. Detective White, what is the discussion in the car after you left? Lena, I'm just told that if I throw them under the bus, basically the same thing will happen to me. Detective White, let me go through this again. Just correct me if I am wrong. You went inside by yourself. How was he dressed? Liana, he was fully dressed. And then I went in the bathroom, which is where I was when they came in, and he had got down into a towel, I guess. Detective White, was there anything that was supposed to go on? Lena, oh yeah. He talked about trying to have sex with me and stuff. Detective Ronnie, why did you want to take his stuff, and how did you know about him? Lena, because they had me get them stuff before. Detective White, from him. Lena, yeah. She claims Nicholas and Ruth had her get drugs for Michael in the past. Detective White, are there phone numbers in your phone? Lena, possibly. Nicholas's number should be in there for sure. Detective White, all right, give me a few minutes. Detective White and Detective Ronnie left the interrogation room. Detective Ronnie said Lena will be charged with felony murder. He said that we'll start working towards getting an arrest warrant for both of her accomplices. Both Nicholas and Ruth have prior convictions for burglary. Detective White said their efforts would now be to find both Nicholas and Ruth and bring them in safely. 4 days later, Detective White gets a lead. He got a tip about Samuel Washington's investigation. The tipster stated that Michael and Lena have had some sort of relationship. White said the way he is hearing it is that he potentially directed Lena to do the robbery. An hour later, Detective White brought Lena back to homicide. Detective White, you already went out on a limb and told me everything as far. Liana, yeah. Detective White, I'll just get to the parts that I'm wanting to shore up. Who did you tell about this situation? Lena, my mom, of course. Detective White, anybody else? Lena, that's the only other person I mentioned it or talked to about it. Detective White, did you make a phone call right after this happened or talk to anybody? Lena, I had somebody call me. Detective White, who? Lena, Samuel Washington. Detective White, this guy right, while showing her his picture. I am not going to waste anybody's time here. Do you have a relationship with him? Lena, he was my boyfriend. Detective White, so that is what I am getting at. I do not want you to sit there and protect that guy. Liana, no, I am not trying to protect anybody. He has told me to do things that I... Detective White, okay, let's get into that. Tell me exactly what he told you to do. Liana, to do whatever it takes to get the money to bond him out. Lena claims Samuel wanted her help to get out of jail. So, he hatched a plan. He planned that Liana would rob Mike. He wanted her to set it up for Nick and Ruthie to go do it. Okay, give me a quick minute, Detective White said while he and Detective Ronnie left the interrogation room. He asked Detective Ronnie what he found. Detective Ronnie said he is looking at murder and conspiracy to commit a felony. Detectives decided to have Samuel transported from jail for questioning. Later that day, Samuel was brought to homicide. He was taken into an interrogation room for questioning. Detective White, first of all, my name is Jason White. I am a homicide detective. You had said something that you want to clear your conscience when we were in the car coming down here. Isn't that right, Samuel? Yeah. Detective White, what do you want to clear your conscience about? Samuel, I talked to Annie. Detective White, you referred to her as Annie when we are talking about Lena. Samuel, when I was in jail, I called her and she answered the phone. Her first words were everything went bad. And she said, he's gone. I said, who's gone? And she said money or Mike or something. This guy Mike, if I remember, she knew him from the past, and she admits she wants me for about getting him. Detective White, what does that mean? Samuel, rob him. That was way before I was even in jail. I told her Ruthie and Nick usually do stuff like that. Detective White, so you guys have had some discussions about possibly the robbery before you were arrested. You ended up getting incarcerated. Were there any other calls that made or any discussion between the two of you or her about wanting to rob him? Samuel, it was pretty much. If she still wanted to do that with Nick, he could help her. He said after they got locked up, he told Lena to work with Nick on a plan targeting Michael. Detective White, okay, meaning the robbery. Samuel, yeah, robbery. I didn't know anything about any murder. Detective White, you may be in a little bit of trouble. If you hadn't mentioned something to her about that situation, that guy would be alive, you know. Samuel, if I get charged, what would I be charged with? Detective White, it will be with murder. Probably a felony murder. Based on the kind of putting the wheels in motion, and then somebody dying in the midst of that, it becomes felony murder. Do you see what I am saying? Samuel, yeah, okay. Detective White, I will holler at you in a quick minute. 2 months after Michael's murder, detectives got a call in the morning that Missouri authorities were able to get Ruth Blair into custody. A tipster called and said both of them were at a house that was nearby. Officers went there really quickly and they managed to capture her, but they didn't find him. Detective White and Detective Ronnie went to Missouri to question here. Detective White, hey there, young lady. Ruth, hi. Detective White, are you doing all right? Ruth, yes. I was scary. Detective White, yes, I know, and you know what? This is a scary situation. But you have to tell me what's up. I already know what's up, but I need to hear from you. Ruth, all I know is Leanne has been texting and calling my old man for a week or two. She had this master plan to go over there because he was supposed to have a lot of money. And Nick asked for a rundown. Like, what's the deal? She said she will go and then the rest can come in. She said to pull into the actual complex. Lena went in by herself and she left the door unlocked. Ruth said she was behind Nick. Nick went in first and he opened the door and she shut the door. Detective White, what was said at this point? Ruth, he said put your hands up. So the dude jumps out and he got a sheet wrapped around him. He walks right in front of Nick and it all happened so fast. Before you knew it, he's got his hand on the doorknob. Nick said don't do it, don't do it. So the dude swings the door open and run out and yelled for help. And then Nick went to pistol whip him. He just wanted to hit him with it. When he went to him the first time, his finger slipped, and the gun went off. Detective White, what did the three of you do next? Ruth, he and I ran out. Went and got in the Jeep. It took her a little longer to come out because she was rounding off everything she could find. She said Lena grabbed drugs from Michael's apartment before fleeing. She said Lena and her didn't get the wallet, and the wallet was the goal. Detective White, did you ever see her again? Ruth, no. Detective White, did Nick? Ruth, no. She said she and Nick went their separate ways. She said she was so afraid she was not going to see him again. The next day, Detective White gets an update from Springfield PD. They finally located Nicholas Gibson. Nicholas Gibson was charged with felony murder in the first degree, and he is awaiting trial. Ruth Blair was charged with felony murder in the first degree, and she is awaiting trial. Lena Rocher was charged with felony murder in the first degree, and she is awaiting trial. Samuel Washington was charged with felony murder in the first degree, and he is awaiting trial. Criminal charges are often dropped or reduced, and the suspects are presumed innocent until proven guilty. A young man was shot dead while at home with his cousin. They had to shoot from the outside. Detectives are tracking an elusive suspect, but he is always one step ahead, and the clock is ticking. For homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they don't get a lead within the first 48 hours. 8:30 a.m. in Mobile, Alabama, a caller put a call through to 911. When the operator picks the call, he asked the caller the location of her emergency. The caller said Dexter Avenue. The caller told the 911 operator to send emergency very quickly because the victim was still breathing. The operator told her that officers will be on their way immediately. He said he needed to know what happened exactly. The caller said she doesn't know what happened. She said she just heard shots ringing out of nowhere and the victim got hit. The operator asked her where she and the victim are. A man close to the woman told the 911 operator to send in help very quickly because the woman is still breathing. 911 operators said he is going to send help right away. The man told the operator to hurry up. He asked if the person that shot the victim was still nearby. They said they do not know. When the medical emergency unit arrived at the scene of the incident, they transported the victim to the hospital, but he died while in the car. The victim is a 23 years old Junta Davis who grew up in Mobile and worked for FedEx. He leaves behind his mother, sister, girlfriend, and young daughter. Junta Davis was shot twice in his chest, once in each arm, and his back. In the bedroom where Junta was found, there were 4 spent .380 shell casings. Junta's cell phone was on the floor of the living room. Pre-packaged packs of marijuana were also found in the front door. Junta's cousin Michael and his roommate who were inside when the shooting happened have agreed to talk when they get to homicide. Junta's cousin Michael was babysitting when the shooting took place. A detective said when he entered the room, he saw the babies were soaked in blood. Another detective asked where the baby was. Patrol officers said they allowed a friend of Michael to take away the baby from the scene of the incident. A detective who was among the first respondents narrated what the witness told him. The detective said they told him no one came into the house. He said they heard the shooting from outside, but they found a casing in the room. An officer said what the witnesses believed was that somebody came on the side of the house and shoot into the house. Detectives also noticed several bullet holes in the building. A detective asked for the exact room where the victim was shot to ascertain if there was a bullet hole there too. When he was taken there, he saw a bullet hole. He dipped his hand into it to see if he could find a bullet. While on the scene, Detective Barton was notified through a call that Detective Jeremy was at the hospital with Junta's family. Detective Barton asked the caller if the family have gotten the news of Junta's death. The caller replied in the affirmative. The family has no idea who would want Junta dead. Detective Barton turns to Junta's neighbors. He knocked on the door of one of Junta's neighbors. The neighbor came out looking surprised to find detectives in front of his door. Detective Barton asked him if he heard any gunshot while he was in his room. He said he didn't hear gunshots. He said the only thing he has seen is police cars in front of his apartment. Detective Barton moved to the door of the next neighbor, but the neighbor was not in his apartment. Detective Barton said he and Detective Nettles will interview the two witnesses. He said they will have to take the statement of the two witnesses and see if their statements corroborate the evidence that they have. A few hours later, both witnesses were brought to homicide. They were taken into separate interrogation rooms immediately. Detective Barton and Detective Nettles went to the interrogation room where the first witness was being held. They both introduced themselves when they entered. Detective Barton asked the witness where he is living currently. He said he lives at Dexter Avenue. He said he moved in there about 1 or 2 months ago. Detective Barton asked him how long Junta has been living in that house. He said he think 9 or 10 years. Detective Barton asked him who Junta is to him. He said he will call Junta his brother. Detective Barton told the witness what he was doing and what he remembered around the time that the shooting occurred. The witness said he went to bed at midnight. He said everybody was in the room because the three of them stayed in the room together. He said he was in the right bed close to the door. He said Junta slept on the sofa while Michael slept on the other bed. Detective Barton asked about the kid. The witness said the kid slept on the bed with Mike. He said he woke up when he heard all the gunshots. He said woke up, he looked up and saw Junta falling. He said while Junta was falling, that was when Michael ran in and started asking what was going on. He said Michael carried the baby and was yelling at him to call the police. He said as he was calling the police, he heard a car speed away. He said the front door to the house was wide open. Detective Barton asked him if he saw the person that did the shooting. He said he did not see the person. Detective Barton asked him how the gunshot was fired. He asked him if the gunshot sounded like it was in the room with him or not. He said the gunshot sounded very close. Detective Barton asked the witness if it was possible that the shooter was in the room and he didn't see the shooter. He said it's possible. Detective Nettles asked him if he knows the status of Junta presently. He said he doesn't know Junta's status presently, but he will want to know. Detective Nettles told him that Junta is dead, which means both of them are in a serious situation at the moment. Detective Barton told the witness that they think he has been truthful with them since the beginning of the interrogation. But they know without a shadow of a doubt that he has not told them everything he knows. Detective Barton asked him if there was anything else that happened in the house that he has not told them. He said he is specifically referring to the shell casing they found inside the bedroom. The witness said Michael does shoot out the window sometimes. He shoots out the window on the ground outside and in the backyard. Detective Barton asked him why Michael does that. He said Michael does that to know if it worked properly. Detective Nettles asked him when Michael shot out the window. He said that was about 2 days ago. Detective Barton asked him the type of gun that Michael uses. He said Michael had shot with .38, 380, or whatever it was. Detective Nettles asked him if the shell casings that are in the room are from Michael's gun. He said that is his guess. Detective Barton asked if Michael has any other pistols at home. He said all he knows is a shotgun. He said when he sees the shotgun, it used to be by the TV stand. The two detectives left the interrogation and they moved to where Michael was being held. When they entered the room where Michael was being held, Detective Barton introduced himself and introduced Detective Nettles too. Detective Barton asked Michael whether he saw the person that fired the shots. Michael said he did not. He asked him if he believed that Michael was shot inside or outside of the house. He said he believes Michael was shot from the outside. Detective Barton told Michael that they found shell casings by the side of his room. Michael said he had a 380. He said he shot at the window a few days ago. Detective Michael asked him what he was doing. He said he was testing it. Detective Barton said it looks weird to him that he chose the out of a window of all places to test his gun. Michael said he chose it because he was nervous if he walks outside, police were going to walk by and they will see him shooting a doggone gun. Michael said he has gotten rid of the gun because he has sold it to his big dog who lives in Mayville. Detective Barton asked Michael if he would be able to get them back because they need to match it. Michael said he can get it back. Detective Barton told Michael he wants to know what has been going on regarding Junta. Michael said nobody comes on a Sunday morning and kills another person without a reason. Michael said Junta had some fake 20 seconds from one of his homeboys. He said Michael has been telling them that he is fixing to try to get a whole zip of Reggie. He said 3 days ago, Junta wanted to buy some low-grade marijuana or Reggie suing counterfeit $20 bills. Detective Barton asked Michael if he knows the person Junta was trying to pass those 20 seconds to. He said he was trying to pass it to a guy who has Haitian dreads. He said that's the only person he thinks might be mad at Junta. The team searches Junta's contacts on social media. They checked for anyone matching the suspect's description. While the detectives were checking Junta's contact, his mother reaches out to Detective Barton through a phone call. Detective Barton, after consoling her, asked her about the last time she spoke to her son. She said she spoke to him about a week ago. She said the conversation they had was just a regular conversation. Detective Barton asked her whether any of Junta's friends has reached her or had offered her any sort of idea of what happened or anything. She said no one has reached out to her. Detective Barton told Junta's mother to call him if she has any questions. He said he will call her also when he gets new information. A detective said there is nothing more they can do that night. Detective Barton addressed the detectives. He told them they will regroup the next day and they will try to figure out if they can find the guy that Junta was trying to buy weed from. The next afternoon, an anonymous tipster called in about the murder. The tipster said that around 8 last night, his friend called him and asked him whether he knows that T has been killed. He said he told him he had no idea. He said the guy that shot Junta came to his house right after he shot Junta and tried to give him the gun and some drugs. He said the guy was bragging about shooting T. The tipster said his friend T was killed by a guy known as Michael. He said the killer is fat and has a beard. He said the shooter may be somehow related to Dunneta's family. Detective Barton said was that, as he was getting that information from the tipster, he also got a call from Birch. Birch's father, Paul Birch, is a captain in the mobile sheriff's office. He said Birch also said the shooter's name was Michael and the shooter was possibly related to Junta. He said after the shooting, Michael fled to a family compound. He said Birch didn't give the address, but he said the whole compound was surrounded by a big privacy fence with a barbed wire. Detective Nettles said the only issue with Birch's information would be that the suspect fled to a family house in Plateau. He said they had Michael at the headquarters after the shooting. He said he is not saying that Michael was the shooter. What he was trying to say is that some information might have crossed the line. A few minutes later, Detective Barton's tipster gave an address for the shooter who heard the confession. The detectives left the headquarters immediately to see if they can find the suspect at the address the tipster gave. When they got there, they knocked on the door and the homeowner came out. The homeowner told the detectives that the witness was not there. The detectives asked the homeowner if he can help them contact the witness. The homeowner said he doesn't know where he is. He said the witness doesn't have a phone. The detectives asked the homeowner if the witness stays with him. He said the witness doesn't stay with him. He told the detectives that the witness lives at his relative's house just around the corner. The detectives went to the house the homeowner showed them. When they got here, they knocked on the door and a guy responded. They asked him if he has seen the witness. He said he hasn't seen him. They asked him if the witness usually comes there every day. He said not often. They told the guy that they needed to talk to the witness, and if he gets in contact with him, he should give them a call. The detectives decided to check Plateau since Birch said he went to Plateau. Plateau, also known as Africatown, is a historic community founded by former slaves in the north section of Mobile. Detectives drove to the Plateau in search of him. They kept checking for a house with a compound and a wired fence. They passed through many houses before they finally saw a house that has a compound and wired fence. One of the detectives pointed at the house, saying the house might be the house they have been looking for. A woman in the house said she has been having trouble with her nephew and gives detectives his name. She said he sells drugs and rides around with a gun. She said he is just a bad apple. She said he was going to get his brother into big trouble. Detective Barton asked her the name of his brother. She said his name is Michael. The detectives asked Michael's brother to describe him. He said Michael is 30 years old. He is heavyset and he wears a beard. The detectives asked him if he has Michael's phone number. He said yes, and he gave the detectives Michael's number. The detectives thanked them and left. Detective Barton said they should return to headquarters so that they can put it together since they now have a suspect. Their possible suspect, Michael, has no prior conviction. Detectives searched for any communication between Junta and Michael, but they did not find any information. In the first 48, Mobile Homicide responded to the murder of 23 years old Junta Davis. They discovered that his roommate and his cousin were at home during the shooting, but didn't get a look at the shooter. Detectives received anonymous tips that the shooter is named Michael and that he fled to a family compound after the murder. Someone in the compound identified Michael but does not believe he was involved in the shooting. The next morning, the witness that overheard the witness confession finally comes forward. He was taken into the interrogation room. After some few minutes, Detective Barton and Detective Nettles went to the room where he was being held. Detective Barton introduced himself to the witness and said he appreciated the witness for coming to homicide. Detective Barton asked him if he has any idea why he was invited. He said he knows Junta by the nickname Shaq. Detective Barton asked him if he knows anything at all about the situation. He said he saw policemen outside his home. He said he didn't know what was going on. He said he came down there because of the presence of the policemen. He says on the morning of the murder, he went to check if Junta was okay. He said he saw a baby. He said he told him not to let them go out at all. He said he carried the baby and the baby's little bag. Detective Barton asked him where he got the baby's bag from. He said he got it from the fat dude called Mike. He said when he walked past 3 houses down, a girl pulled up in a gray car and got the baby and the bag. He said they told him there was a gun in the bag. Detective Nettles asked him how he heard that there was a gun in the baby's bag. He said he heard it from people in the hood. Detective Nettles said how people in the hood could know there was a gun in the bag. He said they knew because they often hang with the victim and his friends. Detective Barton asked that how was the situation where out of all the people that were out there, why was he the one Michael came to? He said that was because he was the first person outside at that time. Detective Barton asked him what type of Camry was it. He said it was a gray Camry. He asked him if he has ever seen the Camry before. He said he has never seen the Camry. Detective Barton asked the victim what he thinks happened in the building. He said he believes that Junta's cousin or roommate shot Junta. The detective said they have to verify the information. Detective Barton asked another detective if he can pull up the body cam. The detective pulls up body cam footage from first responders to the shooting. The footage shows Michael Montgomery asking officers if he can retrieve a pair of pants from his bedroom. The footage showed how Mike picked a gun and shoots the victim. Detective Barton arranges an interview with Junta's roommate, who is in jail on an unrelated warrant. After some few minutes, Detective Barton and Detective Nettles left the headquarters to meet Mike's roommate. A few minutes later, they arrived at their location. They knocked and they were let in. They asked him if he has any idea why they are there. He said he has no idea. They said they came to his place because they wanted to allow him to tell the truth. They said they knew that it was not a situation where he was asleep and had no idea of what happened inside the house. They said he should tell them what he did not tell them in the morning. They told him that he left something out and he has to understand that what they are investigating is a murder case. They told him he has to think about his future and what he is going to do for the rest of his life. Detective asked him one more time to tell him what happened in the house. He said when he woke up that morning, they were arguing. He said Mike had bought some weed from somebody and it was a weak weed. He said Dunta, who goes by the nickname Dee Dee, was hassling about the weed. He said Dee Dee disrespected Mike and Michael did it back. He said Dee Dee got mad and he pushed Michael, but Michael pushed him back. He said he guessed Mike pushed Dee Dee a little too hard. He said when Michael pushed Dee Dee grabbed the shotgun and he told Michael he was going to shoot him. He said Mike grabbed his 380 guns too. He said Dee Dee was asking Michael if he was going to shoot him for real. At that point, Dee Dee cocked his gun. He said Michael started shooting immediately. Dee Dee cocked his gun. Detective Barton asked how many times Michael shot Dunta. He said Michael shot him 4 or 5 times. Detective Barton asked him the whereabouts of the shotgun and the 380. He said the shotgun is in the house, but he doesn't know what happened to the 380. Detective Barton asked him why he did not tell them initially, and he said he doesn't know. They asked him if he has anything to say, and he said he has nothing more to say. 189 years old Michael Montgomery has no prior convictions. The next night, the detectives got information on the possible whereabouts of Mike. They got information that Mike is staying in a relative's house in nearby Pritchard. The team leave the headquarters that night and headed to Mike's location. When the team arrived at the apartment, they knocked on the door. A woman came out to speak to the detectives. They asked her if Michael was there. She was hesitant and not willing to talk. The detectives kept asking her because they detected through her body gesture that Mike might be there. During that process, a detective sighted Mike in the apartment and told him to come out with his hand on his head. Mike finally came out and he was taken into custody by the detectives. They took him to the interrogation room as soon as they arrived at homicide. Detective Barton went where Mike was being held and asked him if he would like to talk to him. He told Detective Barton that he will talk to him if he wants him to talk. Detective Barton told him he wants to know what happened to Dunta. He said when he got up, he went into the bathroom and closed the door. A few seconds later, he started hearing the gunshot. He said he immediately grabbed his baby and ran out of the bathroom door. He said all he saw when he came out was Dee falling to the floor. He said the police showed up after that, and that was what happened. At that point, Detective Barton raised his voice on Mike. He told Mike that what he has been telling them is not the truth. He said he knew that because Mike was not the only one leaving with the deceased. He said the evidence that they have dictates that Mike is not telling the truth. He told Mike that he was ready to give him one last chance to say the truth. Mike also got upset. He told Detective Barton that he was not going to say anything. He says he will rather remain quiet. When he said that, Detective Barton and Detective Nettles left the interrogation room. When Mike left the room, he immediately put a call through to the DOAS office to present his case. He said he wants to know if there is enough evidence to arrest Michael Montgomery for murder. When he dropped the call, he came to where his other team members are. He told them that they have sufficient evidence to charge Michael Montgomery for the murder of Dunta. Detective Barton and Detective Nettles returned to the interrogation room where Mike was been held and officially arrested him for the murder of Dunta Davis. The shotgun and the .380 were never recovered. No one else was charged in connection with the case. Detective Barton put a call through to Dunta's mother, Miss Ottery, and told her that they have arrested Michael Montgomery for the murder of her son.